Oh, and by the way, welcome to Zoom.
Watch the picture, listen to the tune. Everybody ready? It's time for Zoom.
And welcome to the Oddity Archive, the show that's all about those 12-inchers. Laserdiscs, not vinyl albums. We're not that cool. So anyway, today I want to take a look at the more, shall we say, highfalutin end of the concept of the video magazine. Now, of course, rather infamously, we already did a round of these things back in 2017, but on that episode, it was mostly on VHS, and most of the material was geared towards adolescents, or at least more adolescent-minded people. Well, this time around, everything is on Laserdisc, and culturally, we're aiming a little higher. Not by much, though.
With the introduction of Laseractive, Pioneer now moves to the next level in the new world of interactive media.
And yes, we are going to revisit the Pioneer Laseractive today. But before we do, I feel like I should get this whole thing established. So that pretty famous bit on the Laseractive, which you just saw a few seconds of, originates from a strictly Laserdisc and strictly in-house video magazine from Pioneer Electronics. And this magazine was known as Zoom. And by the way, have you had your Zoom today? Little deep cut for the diehards there. But anyway, Zoom was always on these little 8-inch discs, so I've rendered my opening joke moot already. But yeah, always on these 8-inchers, and this lasted for 8 issues from 1991 to 1994. And I've got 2 of these, but I think this first one, issue number 4, June 1992, is more representative of what these were normally like. So the next one will be the Laseractive one. But anyway, I say this is more representative because it's just Pioneer trying to muster some enthusiasm amongst their employees for just kind of whatever they were putting on the market or whatever they were just trying to sell that quarter. So in this case, we're talking just everyday stuff like TVs and, of course, Laserdisc players and, of course, stereo equipment and kind of what Pioneer became known for in the first place. But, yeah, they're just kind of shallowly tooting their own horn about this stuff. You really don't learn all that much. They don't really get into the technical stuff here. So, yeah, this is truly meant for the salespeople. But anyway, looking at something like this from today's perspective, I think we can safely say this is a bit of pride before the fall, a bit of hubris on Pioneer's part. Because as much as I love at least older Pioneer gear, even I have to admit they've really dropped off in the last 20 to 25 years. And it kind of makes sense. The way they approach this stuff is a little overly confident, and they don't really feel the need to talk specifics too much, as I already mentioned. And I can just see where this ultimately led them down the road that they went down. So with that, this particular issue, I've done my best to keep this montage reasonably coherent, but this was kind of just thrown together in the first place. So I will post this in its entirety to Archive Annex, but I don't think it's going to make much more sense there. It's very choppy, and just look for yourself.
Welcome to Zoom.
Watch the picture, listen to the tune. Everybody ready? It's time for Zoom.
Hi, I'm Rich Quattrone, and I'm here at what some people believe to be one of the most beautiful resort hotels in the world, the Hotel del Coronado, on Coronado Island, just off the coast from San Diego. The views here are just tremendous, and the weather, well, it's almost always perfect. This hotel may be bathed in the fine tradition of relaxation, but I can assure you, Pioneer won't rest until the new programs and products are introduced with all the energy and excitement that's possible.
Yes, Rich, there is a lot of electricity in the air. It's Pioneer's West Coast dealer show. All their new products, their best stuff. Cassette decks, compact disc players, receivers, amplifiers, laser disc players, still the best way to watch movies in the luxury of your own home, and projection televisions. A new Pioneer projection television, part of a new series of TVs called ProVision. Now, ProVision means a lot of things. With the Pioneer projection TV, what you're really watching is 3 cathode ray tubes, red, green, and blue. This new projection TV may fit in some places where it wouldn't before. All Pioneer projection TVs are digitally converged, right on the production line. This used to be done by hand. Not anymore. Okay, 3-line digital comb filter. I'll skip the rocket science stuff and I'll tell you this. All color TVs have a comb filter, but as you've probably guessed, some are better than others. But the bottom line is dot crawl is gone. End of story. A lot of customers are after simplicity, flexibility, but they still want the excitement of home theater. What's great is if they want the basics, it's all right here. A television and 5 amplifiers for Dolby Pro Logic surround sound. All that, one product. One more thing. You've heard the film expression fade to black? With most television monitors, it's closer to fade to gray or fade to a reflection of yourself watching TV.
Hey, what's up?
Dinner is one thing, but getting into marriage, I mean, those are two definitely different things. Hey, what's up? Let me tell you something. Hollywood is no longer the center of the universe. Okay, well, it never really was. It's just that some people there thought the rest of us out here were watching paint dry or something. Let's see, what else is happening? There's a new ad campaign coming up, new promotions, and you know what? There's a lot more really cool stuff happening at Pioneer. But I'm Jeanette O'Grady, and I gotta go. So I'm telling them, I couldn't believe it.
You guys also do the karaoke. What's that all about?
Oh, that's the newest family entertainment. Just a fun thing where we sing along and we make our own videos. We produce the videos, license the songs, and it's just a great family entertainment for everybody to enjoy.
And as you, the retail salespeople, begin to see our products in your stores, I'd like you to take a special look at what Pioneer is offering this year. The product line is really phenomenal, and we hope that the tradition of success that we've enjoyed together will continue. That's it for now. I'm Rich Quattrone, and thanks for watching.
Volume 7 of Zoom from October of 1993 deals exclusively with the Laseractive system. And of course, we first touched on that back on the Laserdiscs and Their Children episode. And we've run footage from this disc as far back as the original Format Wars episode back in 2012. And I guess I'll post this to Archive Annex as well. This is already on YouTube, but the quality is not so great, so I guess it's time for an upgrade. But anyway, for the handful of my viewers that aren't familiar with the Laseractive system, let me try and run it down, even though you'll see it in action here. So, of course, the great technological buzz phrase of the 90s was interactive multimedia. Now, that's perfectly normal now, but at the time, everybody was trying to come up with something that would, fit that phrase. But the technology just wasn't really there yet, and invariably you would just wind up with these glorified VCRs. And my own personal joke about the Laseractive system is that it's just the Philips CDI with a thyroid condition. So, getting back to the glorified VCR thing, at its heart, the Laseractive was just a normal old Laserdisc player, albeit one that could play games that had been pretty half-heartedly plopped onto normal old Laserdiscs, and games that even by the standards of the time weren't terribly impressive. But the other noteworthy thing about the Laseractive was it had a nice big hole in the front that you could put these modules into. So there was one for the Sega Genesis, play your normal old Sega Genesis cartridges, and it also communicated with the rest of the machine to let you put Sega CD games in the main Laserdisc tray. Let's see, there was also a module for the TurboGrafx 16, and of course, it being Pioneer, they had one for Laser Karaoke. Now, these modules were $300 to $600 a pop. The main Laseractive unit was in upwards of $1,000. Shock of shocks, this did not do too well. If my own numbers are anything to go by, there were about 10,000 units sold worldwide, and the bulk of them were in Japan. Now, as for this montage, be prepared for a whole lot of empty hyperbole on the Laseractive, and also for that salesman from the first disc we looked at, trying desperately to muster some kind of enthusiasm for this thing.
The blue of the western sky comes Sky King. Howdy doody, boys and girls.
Television. Other than the telephone and the computer, perhaps nothing has changed our lives more. All of that is changing, and Pioneer, as a leader in optical media, has been responsible for bringing some of the best reasons for change to the market. Life is moving faster these days. We take on more information. We ask more questions. And in an interactive world, we control the level of experience.
The big deal with interactive, we're going to sit you down in front of a box, a very large screen. They'll interact in real time with people on the other side of the world. It will definitely affect international relations.
Laseractive is very important because it is essentially married together in one box, two pieces that previously had been separated or very difficult to connect.
The CLD A100 has all the capabilities of Pioneer's current Laserdisc players, but now takes us into the elevated experience of Laseractive.
As we enter the incredible universe of Sega games and programs, redefining imagination and fascination at every age. NEC TurboGrafx with programs, multi-level skill games, and learning systems built with spectacular visuals and animation. Karaoke sing-along discs that let us stand alone in the spotlight or sing again and again with our family and friends. And, as if all this wasn't enough,
Pioneer introduces a line of Laseractive software titles, making the ultimate use of 12-inch Laserdisc capacity.
Hi, I'm Matt Nelson, and welcome to Zoom. That first segment was quite an opening, wasn't it? You know, there's a good reason we did that, too. The folks at Pioneer are pretty excited about the CLD A100 and the new Laseractive technology. Hey, as my mom used to say, what will they think of next? But you see, that's the thing. They haven't relaxed for a moment. They are thinking about something else these days: software. This is Pyramid Patrol, and it takes place on Mars, as they say, in the near future. The game is built in different skill levels. You have to get past one to get to the next one, and Pioneer makes great use of the Laseractive format by building and designing visuals that are so far beyond games you might be used to seeing. You need to check it out. Uh-oh, through the pyramid. Hello. Quiz Econosaurus. This is interesting, and it's fun for absolutely everybody in the family. It's based on issues and answers that deal with the ecology of our planet, which is pretty important these days. What causes the pH value of rain taken at the Earth's surface to be lower than 5.6? It's not respiration. Noises? Human activities. I knew that. I Will is a mystery game in which there are several characters and clues, and what you've got to do is put the right people together and the right clues in the right order to, well, you guessed it. It's a whodunit, and it keeps you intrigued every step of the way. Manhattan Requiem. I just recently got a chance to take a look at this, and I gotta tell you, I love this game. Right from the start, it takes you to the heart of New York City, where you encounter one rather questionable character after another. Oh yes, Vajra. This is a 3D shooting game with high-speed, high-quality computer graphics. You get a level of virtual reality that has never been available through those conventional home video game machines. Okay, this is Space Berserker. This goes beyond just your ordinary space shooting game. What I love about this are the visuals, the computer graphics. It's got a great story too, but okay, enough said. And finally, the Great Pyramid. This is fascinating, covering 4,000 years of Egyptian pharaohs and gods, customs and legends, letting you choose who and what you want to learn about, and at your own pace. Again, the laser active quality is so wonderful here in its ability to bring you visuals. It's absolutely terrific. I love that stuff because, you see, the thing is, with laser active, the whole idea is that you don't have to wait for the world to march in order in front of you. I'm here, but I could be here, or I could be in here, or I could be here. Oh, wait a minute, that's on side 2, and you haven't seen that yet.
One of the great things about our program is that we get a chance to talk about the incredible advances that Pioneer is making in consumer products and technology. Most of the applications are very simple. Here's your basic setup. Notice the color-coded left and right audio outputs. These will now get plugged into either an AV receiver or into the back of a television that has RCA jacks. You can use the optional JARF3 adapter that will allow these 3 connections to be made. Now all you have to do is plug your antenna directly from the adapter to the TV, and your outdoor antenna gets plugged here. You choose between channel 3 or channel 4, whichever one is empty, and you're on the air. But right now, we're ready for page 22, where we put the disc in and hit the play button. So quick, short review. Make sure the power is off. Put the pack inside the machine, let it sit home, plug in your key controller. Now you can turn your power on. Beyond everything we've covered so far, there's more, all of it very informative, finding specific frames on the disc, troubleshooting, specifications, lots of stuff. But the important thing is this: at Pioneer, we'll continue to design players and components to operate as simply as we can.
This next series was also available on VHS and Betamax, but I think I can safely say this was really intended first and foremost for the Laserdisc format. Now, I say that because this was on Laserdisc exclusively issued in the CAV format, which allows for all the trick play features on most, if not all, players. And it's broken down into very specific chapters, and the whole thing seems to be designed to be picked apart and studied. So anyway, this comes to us by way of the once mighty Fangoria magazine. Of course, the horror fanzine, which just kind of sputters along these days. But back in the 80s and 90s, they were, within the horror realm, a pretty dang big deal. And for a while there, they were taking what was usually the centerfold or center article of their print edition, which was known as Scream Greats, and doing a long video version, an hour-long each time video version. But, at its peak, only 2% of households here in America had Laserdisc players. So when you take something that's already kind of a cult item like horror, and you're dealing with such a small market, it was unsustainable, and it was totally impractical. Cool, but it just wasn't going to happen. So anyway, yeah, this is about the Scream Greats series, and it only lasted 2 issues, and I've got both of them, but I'm only going to excerpt the first one, and I have 2 reasons for this. One, it's Fangoria. There's a big time horror bent to it. And I'd like to keep my video out of the age-restricted purgatory here on YouTube. So, one, I want to simplify things. And two, the second issue revolves around Satanism and witchcraft. Two topics I know nothing about and have no real interest in, and I really don't want to drag this out into two segments. So, yeah, we'll just confine it to the first disc. Now, if you are so inclined, both issues are here on YouTube, but they are age restricted and they're a lot harder to search for. It's actually easier to go on an outside search engine and find your way back into YouTube. But anyway, the first edition of Scream Greats, the one we're going to look at, is all about the life and work of horror movie makeup and special effects guru Tom Savini. At least as of 1986. And of course, the man is still at it today. So anyway, as implied, we're going to stick with the educational end of this disc, which means learning real great useful stuff. Assuming you're going to try and make horror movies. Stuff like learning how blood squibs work.
He became, to many of the fans, a symbol of a fan who made it.
My first inspiration as far as doing makeup was Lon Chaney Sr., the silent screen star, makeup artist, stuntman, actor, He flipped me out. I saw a movie called Man of a Thousand Faces in this theater, the Plaza Theater, when I was 12 years old, and I flipped out. I had a makeup kit. I used to go to my relatives' houses and make myself up, but they would look at me and wonder why I was doing this, Put a tattered shirt on or a bandana and make my face brown, and I'd stand there like this, and they'd say, very nice, why are you doing this, And I saw this movie and it was like, hey, I can be different people through makeup, The whole world opened up, a bunch of new characters opened up whenever Chaney opened up his makeup box. 5th grade, she said, we want you to walk around from classroom to classroom doing a little skit for this bake sale we're having. I said, okay. The problem is you're going to dress up like a woman. Forget it. My peers talked me into it, and I did it, and I'm glad. I mean, they called me Gloria for the rest of my time in grade school. It was like, that's what it first came out of me, and I realized acting, I could do acting, I enlisted in the Army to stay out of Vietnam, and wound up at a headquarters camp, for the most part, processing reconnaissance film when it came down, but my job mainly was to, when the stuff was over, go take pictures. The equipment, the damage to equipment, people, things like that. One approach would be, well, let's get a fake head, take a knife and cut its throat. Well, my idea is to use as much of the real actor in the effect as possible, because the real actor can, make faces, make his eyes move. Fake head just sits there. I approach the director with this and say, to make this illusion work, I think you need this, you need that, you need this. He agrees, he disagrees, we argue, I win, and then we do it, Jason, from Friday the 13th, the first one, was, I kept thinking of this guy that I saw in my neighborhood when I was a kid. He was misshapen. He had a big ear that was pushed down here, and it was lower than the other ear. So he needed to be retarded, he needed to be hydrocephalic or a pinhead or something like that, So if you can do that and make it look like there's bone structure beneath all these deformations, then the audience buys it. So we had to do it mechanically. So we built this thing. We tested it over and over and over again with water, for the bleeding. But the idea of somebody getting hit and then sliding down the blade, what a payoff. They were screaming their lungs off. Sometimes an effect will pop up that involves testing, okay? And I hate to put makeup on myself. I have nightmares. My nightmares are having glue in my armpits, behind my knees, just something where the skin, It's just, I hate the feeling, And we simply put the explosive charge, put that in the middle there. This way it explodes out and away from the person. Come here, my dear.
This is what wives are made for.
Okay, now we test it. We're gonna make this a juicy one. Want a blindfold? Cigarette? It worked, Greg. Yeah. It worked. The other thing we forgot to give her earplugs.
I cannot hear a thing.
Where they would be chewing on just pieces of rubber, you know, like, what do we have here? Here's a latex lower intestine here. Here's chunks of flesh. Now, chunks of flesh was something that we would just whip together, and whenever we needed it, we would stick it in something so that when a piece of a person came off or a head was torn off, you know, see this stuff just...
Part of Tom's charm on the set then is putting it people at ease, people that don't have experience with it. He's a charmer. He can really disarm you.
Fair warning, this is going to be a long intro. Sorry. Anyway, I freely admit that this last video magazine series is a total technicality with regards to Laserdisc. Now, this was actually at the time far and away most viewed on VHS. But the catch is that these tapes were not widely available. You couldn't, for the most part, just pop down to the video store like a Suncoast or something, or to the record store or electronics store and buy a copy. Most of these were strictly rental tapes. And of course, if you tried to buy one of those tapes, certainly back in the 90s, you were looking at around $100. So most of these that were sold as opposed to rented, sold directly to consumers, were on Laserdisc at $30 a pop at the time. So with that, our final video magazine is known as the Full Moon Video Zone, and it comes to us from Full Moon Entertainment, the B horror movie studio, the studio that gave us the Puppet Master movies and the Trancers movies and a few others. But yeah, kind of known to be a bit of a schlock house. So, with that in mind, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Full Moon. It seems like for every movie of theirs I genuinely enjoy, like the original Puppet Master, I get stuck with 2 or 3 real turkeys as far as I'm concerned. And tellingly, the Riff Trax gang has been known to pick on these movies in recent years, and they've actually picked on one of the 2 that I've got down there. So anyway, Video Zone, you didn't just go out and seek Video Zone. It would be attached to whatever the Full Moon movie was. So you'd have the movie, and then afterwards it would be Video Zone. And the bulk of each one would be the making of the movie you just saw. So kind of a precursor to the DVD extra. So anyway, I think we can safely say this is, in its own perverted way, the most successful video magazine of all time. It's probably the longest running and has the most issues. I couldn't tell you how many exactly, but it ran for several years during the 90s, and Full Moon pumped out a lot of movies, like 10 to 15 a year, I think. And yeah, it just... it was successful in its own strange way, and it even had a renaissance on DVD in the 2010s, and I wouldn't be surprised if they started making them again sometime. But anyway, since these things were attached to the movies, I don't normally do movie reviews, but let's just discuss each movie for a moment here. So the first one, and the source of most of the footage in my montage, is for the Video Zone attached to Netherworld from 1991. And I actually really enjoyed this movie. Now, having said that, most Full Moon fans absolutely hate this movie. And I get it, because with a Full Moon movie, there's usually a lot more blood and guts, and or maybe it's a sci-fi thing, and these things tend to be more like movie comic books than anything else. So this thing is really just... it's not even really a horror movie. It's more of a drama that just happens to have a precious few kill scenes in it. I think there's 3 deaths across the whole movie. So anyway, what I liked about this one is that it's kind of a slow burn. It's a pretty low-key movie, and it's, dare I say, kind of introspective, and not something you normally would see, certainly from a full moon movie, or just in this genre in general. Now, of course, it being full moon, it's got some cheesy moments, unfortunately. But at the same time, this is one of those rare occasions where I loved the score so much that I actually went and sought out a copy of the soundtrack album and paid the collector's price for it, admittedly. But anyway, the other movie I've got is on the other side of the coin, as far as I'm concerned. Shrunken Heads from 1994, made by Danny Elfman's brother. And Danny himself contributes the theme tune. Now, of course, one of Danny Elfman's main claims to fame is scoring a lot of Tim Burton's movies. And shock of shocks, this thing is very much a Tim Burton pastiche. Now, Tim Burton's movies, odd as they are, they do tend to have their own logic to them, and they feel reasonably natural. Everything about Shrunken Heads feels so belabored to me. And, of course, Tim Burton's stuff always has a major black comedy streak to it. It's here, too, but it ain't funny, as far as I'm concerned. And this is one of the ones that Riff Tracks has picked on in recent years. So anyway, the 2 titles that I got there, I think kind of perfectly sum up Full Moon and Video Zone in general, in that the quality of the movie seems to compare to the Video Zone attached to it. The Shrunken Heads one, you're not even going to get a minute from that thing.
Hi, I'm Charlie Band, and welcome to the 7th edition of Full Moon's Video Zone. You know, when we started the Video Zone, I thought it was a great idea, really because of all the interest the fans had in behind-the-scene footage and how the picture was made and interviews with directors, and I hoped it would be well received. In any case, Netherworld really represents something new for us, in as much as the soundtrack of the movie was done by David Bryan from Bon Jovi. And as you know, there's some original songs and a performance by Edgar Winters. From this point forward, Full Moon Pictures will also have a lot of emphasis on the music in the films. You hear people say this all the time, thank the fans, thank you for the support, but it's really true, because if the fans weren't renting the tapes and the retailers weren't stocking them, we wouldn't really have the successful line of product we have now. All we can try to do is continue to make good pictures with good hooks and good storylines and deliver quality, because that's really the name of the game.
Birds of a feather flock together in Full Moon Entertainment's latest venture, Netherworld.
I didn't want to do a voodoo story, but I wanted to use the aspect that in voodoo where you can bring back someone from the dead. So I came up with this thing about birds. So I created a coven of people that was based upon bird mythology. The film was better than the script.
You may want to look closely at that funky band that's playing togs. You might recognize rock legend Edgar Winter performing live and making his acting debut.
Yes, it is. My first experience with film. Actually, I'm interested in scoring also, so this is going to be an invaluable experience in that area. I hope to do more of it.
The natural progression to get into film scoring is that the training. I've had classical training for 15 years on piano, and there's a whole range of emotions in the classical world, from happy to sad to getting mad to not getting mad, the whole range of the human emotion.
Hello, do you know me?
Not many people do. That's why I always carry this. How do we come up with the visions? How do we make these things tangible? Well, generally we go to something called a meeting. Bull sessions, where the executive producer and the director, in this case Charles Band and Peter Manoogian, meet with me, the effects creator, who acts more or less as a police sketch artist. Over here you can see our shop supervisor, Mr. Rod Matsui, attempting to execute this creature. But if you look carefully, you'll be able to tell that Rod is doing it completely wrong. Everything he's doing will have to be redone. In fact, you'll never work in this town again. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-dang-dang-dang, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-dang-dang-ding-dong-do. Full moon.
Hi, Full Moon fans. I'm Charlie Spradlin. You may recognize me from Full Moon's Puppet Master 2 and Meridian. Moonstone Records is rising up the charts. You should rush right down to your nearest record store and get our newest release of Netherworld. This original soundtrack features blues songs by Edgar Winters and instrumentals by Bon Jovi's keyboardist David Bryan. Netherworld is sure to rock you, and so are our other tapes and CDs for films such as Puppet Master, The Pit and Pendulum, Meridian, and Subspecies. They say that our Full Moon movies are just like comic books, and we couldn't agree more. That's why Charles Band commissioned Malibu Graphics to do adaptions of our films. On the stands right now are Dollman and Demonic Toys. But the best way to find out about all the great things happening here at Full Moon is to join the fan club. For $20, you'll get this great Full Moon Company t-shirt.
Hello and welcome to Video Zone. I'm Charles Band and I'm here at the San Diego Comic Convention, standing in front of the Silver Moon Comics booth. It's an exciting show, and we're really happy that next year we're going to start publishing our own very cool Silver Moon comics. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed Shrunken Heads, and of course I'll see you on the next edition of the Video Zone.
Fly into a world of magic and mayhem with Full Moon Entertainment's outrageous horror comedy, Shrunken Heads.
If I ever look like this, please kill me.
Full Moon has spent months creating our most exciting collector's items. To find out about them, be sure to get your free copy of Dark Side of the Moon. This special fold-out issue shows you how you can order everything, from Full Moon videos, to posters, to CDs, and mugs. Thanks for staying tuned and watching me in Oblivion 2 Backlash. I'll be seeing you on the next edition of Full Moon's Video Zone.
Well, that's it for today's archive. Join me next time when I show you how you can join the Archive Zone. Yes, that's right. For a mere $200 a month, I'll send you our awesome newsletter, and I'll send you all...
What is this taffy anyway?
I don't know.